This is Mango, the GOAT, and this is the IIP. IIP stands for Involuntary Immigrants Podcast. I got a brother, man. He ain't my real brother, but he's a brother from another mother. My man name is Ace. Shout out to Ace. I know you probably listen. I'm about to talk shit, though. My nigga Ace say, AOC is the best politician in America because AOC is for the people. And I was like, AOC? I can't pronounce the bitch name, so I always call her AOC. And so I know something about AOC, but I was like, what, man? My nigga never steered me wrong. Let me look up some more. Because everything I heard her say before the nigga said it, I was like, was some bullshit. So then I listened to her. And then as I listened to her, and I was like, bruh, I understand. This nigga want to fuck this bitch. Because that bitch ain't nothing good for the people. And then I realized my own bias. Because I said, I don't really look at the people. I look at the Negroes. And then I realized this bitch ain't nothing good for the Negroes. Now, in doing my research on AOC, and this episode, don't get it misconstrued. This episode ain't about AOC. She just brings me to the point I'm going to get to. But in doing my research in AOC, I say, bitch kind of cute. She looked like that crazy Spanish bitch cute. You know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, that bitch probably fuck with that Santeria and shit. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can understand why my dog want to fuck. He making political ideologies about his dick fucking this bitch. And then I'm like looking at it and I was like, let me try to see it from his perspective. Would I want to fuck this bitch? I don't think I want to fuck her though. And like, I ain't gonna lie. Because of her status and her face, I would probably get some top from her. And it gotta be some damn good top to make me want to hit that pussy because she ain't got no ass whatsoever. And that's just my nigga side talking to y'all. But in listening to the bitch, it was one clip that I saw and she got on there and she was trying to talk hood with it. You know, I guess, you know, she Puerto Rican, she may be from the Bronx or some shit. I don't know what the fuck this bitch from. But I just like lost all political interest. And I'm one of them niggas I could separate my dick from political interest. Because when it comes down to political interest, I look at that as the interest of my people. And ain't no nut worth the sacrifice of my people. So I'm listening to this bitch. And then I get this philosophy in my mind. If she hit the fan, where it come down to her making policies, nigga, you listening to me right now. Your grandma is Big Mama. If you young, your great grandma is Big Mama. But her grandma is abuela. Do you think she will make decisions for Big Mama or abuela? So I wanted to call this episode Big Mama versus Abuela. Because you got to understand that Big Mama interest is different from Abuela. No matter what these motherfuckers tell you, they'll tell you, oh, we all at the bottom. And Big Mama, no, Big Mama different. Big Mama interest is way different than Abuela. One of the top things on Abuela agenda is citizenship. Big Mama already got that. Big Mama's citizenship concern went from being a second-class citizen to a recognized citizen. She never had an immigration status. So when we talk about these politicians, listen, I love people who do for their people. And I believe if shit hit the fan, AOC, whatever fucking, that bitch gonna look out for her people. And then respect. But my nigga Ace is a nigga. He gonna say, I ain't no nigga, I'm black. Because that's how my dog do. And I respect that. It's miseducated. It's mislearned behavior. Nigga, if you listening, you a nigga. But AOC, her number one concern gonna be for abuela. I ain't got abuela. So your concern ain't gonna meet mine. Even though my Big Mama in the grave, My big mama's second concern was for her seed. And I think her second concern turned into her first concern, but her seeds. So when y'all go to looking at these politicians and y'all start to saying everything that ain't white is right, a lot of y'all miskin fucking screwed. You know, it's damn ridiculous. Because you need to remember these politicians got grandmothers. When you make decisions, a lot of times you think about your grandmothers, your parents, and your babies. That's the first thinking processes that you have. It's your immediate family. Will you make a decision that'll cause your immediate family to be fucked up? I would hope not. Because if you're willing to do that, how can somebody who's no relation to you trust you? So, tell y'all the story about my grandmother, right? My grandmother come from that old school, you know what I mean? That she from Alabama, and she moved to Florida, but you know she learned from somebody who learned from somebody from slavery. And they had this pride to them, this deep pride and this beautiful pride. And a lot of the first jobs that our ancestors that were sisters were able to get was like housekeeping and stuff like that. So they had this strict pride about their own house. You know, we can go get paid to clean these white people's house. Our house gonna be clean too. You know, and that's a strict pride. You ain't too familiar with you don't got no old grandma with a junky house. That's very rare to find. I can't think of no nigga my age that had a grandma with a fucking filthy house. That's fucking rare. And that's the pride. We don't notice that, but that's the pride of them having to do housekeeping work for $1 here and there. They house gonna be cleaner than the work they doing for the white folk. That's just what it is. So my grandmother, I was a jit, and I remember watching her. She'll wake up 6 something, 7 something in the morning. She got bleach. She got this and that. She sweeping. She wiping down the wall. She do this shit every fucking morning. The one time that she cleaned the least was on Sunday. She only do minor shit, and she go to church. She get her church shit on, and she go to church. Now, that's the pride she took. Now, we were staying in Parkside Gardens, and in Parkside Gardens, Ocala, Florida. What happened next was Parkside Gardens was a primarily black neighborhood at the time in the early 90s. What happened next, I want to say it was the mid 90s. She got Mexican neighbors. And it was like 50 of them motherfuckers living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I ain't bullshitting with you. They had this little fucking van from like the 70s, and it was like 50 of them motherfuckers living there. Not all of them adults. It was a shitload of kids and a whole bunch of adults, but it was like 50 of them bitches. I ain't fucking joking. Maybe I'm exaggerating. It was probably like 30. But shit, it was a lot of them motherfuckers, right? And every morning they get up, go to work at some farm or some shit they work at. And the women stay back and they cook all day. They cook and clean and shit all day. And that's for when the men come back, they got food, cerveza, and they doing all they do their thing, you know? They ain't never once bothered my grandmother. You know, they ain't never interfere and like coming over and doing that in her yard and none of that shit. And the yard's in a project building. You can only imagine, right? But they ain't never come that way. Every now and again, the kids be outside in wedding dresses. The girls be wearing wedding dresses with soccer shoes, and they be kicking the balls and shit. And the ball would come over to my grandmother's yard or some shit like that. And they come back, and every time the ball came over, they would apologize. So they wasn't disrespectful people. But the one thing that happened was when they moved in, my grandmother all of a sudden got a roach problem. She got roaches in her house for the first time ever. Them fucking German roaches. If you don't know what they is, look them up. Them motherfuckers fuck and breed like 10 times rabbits. And my grandmother take pride in her cleanliness. And the thing with German roaches is they not based on your cleanliness. They based on spread and infestation. Now, how Parkside is built, they're not built at this time like regular houses and stuff, like insulation. No, fuck that. They're just brick buildings, right? And for some way or another, the German roaches find a way to my grandmother's apartment and they infest her shit up pretty damn bad. And I remember her sweeping one morning and she kills one. And as she's sweeping, I just saw her spirit drop. And she say, I ain't never had this mess in my life. I ain't never had no roaches. And I remember how she said, because my grandma didn't say roaches. She said roaches. I ain't never had no roaches. And it just broke her heart. And that shit bothered me. The people next door, they was chasing the American dream. You know, they didn't have plans on putting that heartache on my grandmother. But that shit put heartache on my grandmother. So that gave me kind of a little bit of a resentfulness. You know? The motherfucker who lived in that apartment before the Mexicans did, it was an old black lady. She used to sell lily dillies. Some of y'all don't know what lily dillies are. Niggas in Florida know, but lily dillies is when you put the Kool-Aid in the fucking styrofoam cups and you freeze them. She used to sell lily dillies, and I think she died or something, and the apartment became vacant. The Mexicans found a way to get in that apartment. The reason I'm telling y'all this story is because them motherfuckers next door knew they had roaches when they moved in there. But their interest was not about if they were spreading roaches to my grandmother. Their interest was about them finding a place for them to survive. And in doing so, them roaches transferred over to my grandmother. Now, eventually they was gone. I don't know if they got deported or they got caught or whatever, but they left within the year. And then 2 months after they was gone, my grandmother was able to eradicate those German roaches. And from her apartment, maybe that was by way of them getting rid of them from both apartments. I don't know, but my grandmother didn't have them no more. So with that being said, I'm talking from the interest of me. I don't give a fuck what them people's stories was. I don't give a fuck about them people's survival. My fucks given go to Big Mama. I didn't care about what the fuck abuela was going through. And to be real with you, I don't give a fuck what abuela going through now. Because my interest is that of Big Mama's. So when you say to me, AOC is one for the people, I ask, who people? Because at the end of the day, AOC has an abuela. I only got a Big Mama. Thank y'all for listening and God bless y'all.
Do you remember writing in your diary that freedom is the freedom to say 2 and 2 make 4?
Yes.
How many fingers am I holding up, Winston?
4.
And if the party says it is not 4 but 5, then
4.
180. How many? 190. How many fingers, Winston?
4. 5. 4. Anything you like. Only stop the pain. Stop.
Involuntary. Done contrary to or without choice. Involuntary.
Immigrant.
Done contrary
Definition
to
1.
or without choice.
Person who immigrates.
Involuntary.
Immigrant.
Done contrary
Definition
to
1.
or without choice.
Person who comes
Done contrary to or without choice. Done contrary to or without choice. Done contrary to or without choice.
Definition 1. Immigrant. Definition 1. Unknown. Person who established. Unknown.
Stand down, banger.
Unknown. Established.
Trying to free your mind.
What white people have to do is try to find out in their own hearts why it was necessary to have a nigger in the first place. But if you think I'm a nigger, it means you need it. The question you gotta ask yourself, the white population of this country's gotta ask itself. North and South, because it's one country, and for a Negro, there is no difference in the North and the South. It's just,
Voluntary. Done contrary to or without choice.
Immigrant. Definition 1. A person who immigrates. Definition 2. A plant or animal that becomes established where it was previously unknown.